You're really not gonna go? You're gonna miss out on the prom?
Not everyone remembers the 1980s action cinema landscape the way critics do, and even fewer recall the women who dominated those visceral, satirical thrillers. Nancy Allen was one of the rare exceptions, a performer who could shift between sci-fi spectacle and genuine vulnerability with equal precision. Yet by the early 2000s, she'd largely vanished from prominent view, leaving audiences to wonder what became of the actress who made Paul Verhoeven's dystopian visions feel grounded and human. Today, I would like to recall Nancy Allen's career and understand why this formidable presence faded from the Hollywood spotlight despite a genuinely powerful run. Nancy Allen burst onto screens in the late 1970s with bit parts in television and small film roles. But none of these early credits moved her toward stardom. She appeared in forgettable projects and guest spots on TV shows, the kind of work that keeps an actor visible but not memorable. What separated Allen from hundreds of other young actresses, however, was her willingness to take on edgy material and her natural screen presence qualities that would soon define her entire career. The real spark came when directors began to notice something distinctive in her, a blend of physicality and emotional authenticity that made her perfect for complex female roles in an era when such parts were exceedingly rare. The breakthrough that changed everything arrived in 1982 with Blowout, Brian De Palma's technically audacious thriller starring John Travolta. Allen played Salty, a sex worker with genuine agency and depth, and the role demonstrated immediately that she wasn't just a pretty face, she could carry dramatic weight and hold her own against established leads. Blowout made a modest $9 million at the domestic box office, but earned serious critical acclaim for its filmmaking, and Allen's performance was singled out as unexpectedly nuanced. The film signaled to the industry that she had range, and more importantly, that she could thrive in intelligent, ambitious material. 2 years later, in 1984, Allen landed the role that would define her entire career. RoboCop, Paul Verhoeven's satirical masterpiece about a resurrected police officer in a dystopian near future, featured Allen as Officer Ann Lewis, the pragmatic, tough-minded partner to Peter Weller's titular cyborg. The film grossed a staggering $53.4 million domestically and became a cultural phenomenon, spawning 2 direct sequels, merchandise, and a cultural legacy that endures to this day. Allen's portrayal of Lewis earned her significant recognition. She received nominations from multiple genre organizations and became the emotional anchor of a franchise that could have easily dispensed with nuance entirely. RoboCop proved that audiences wanted smart, capable women in action films, and Allen was the perfect embodiment of that shift. Her performance across all 3 RoboCop films, 1987's RoboCop 2 and 1993's RoboCop 3, remained consistent and credible, with each installment reinforcing her status as a dependable, talented action performer. Between and around the RoboCop sequels, Allen took on other significant projects that solidified her position as a major player in 1980s and early 1990s cinema. She appeared in Dressed to Kill 1980, David Cronenberg's notorious psychological thriller, playing a woman caught in a web of obsession and murder, another Verhoeven collaboration that required both technical precision and emotional vulnerability. She reunited with De Palma for Body Double, 1984, a deliberately controversial erotic thriller that pushed boundaries and sparked debate. Body Double made $12.6 million domestically and proved that Allen was willing to take professional risks. She also appeared in Not Just Another Girl on the IRT, 1992, a lower-budget indie thriller that showed her range beyond major studio tentpoles. More significantly, she took on Christine, 1983, John Carpenter's automotive horror film in which she held her own opposite Kyle MacLachlan and a possessed 1958 Plymouth Fury. These mid-tier choices kept Allen working consistently and demonstrated her credibility as an actress who could anchor projects across multiple genres. The peak window of Allen's career extended from approximately 1982 through the early 1990s, a period during which she was rarely absent from screens and consistently in conversation for significant roles. Beyond RoboCop's massive success, she landed prominent positions in genre films that studios actually invested in and marketed aggressively. Her willingness to work with boundary-pushing directors like De Palma and Verhoeven gave her projects an artistic credibility that elevated her above typical action film actresses. The critical and commercial success of RoboCop, especially, which became a franchise film, before franchising was the industry's dominant model, ensured that Allen was attached to bankable projects. Casting directors and producers knew she could handle the dual demands of action spectacle and character nuance, a rare combination in an era when those skills were often kept separate. What made Allen's peak particularly notable was her ability to navigate the complex dynamics of 1980s Hollywood without compromising her choices or her dignity. She worked consistently, took on roles that challenged her, and never became typecast in the way that so many action actresses of her era were. Yet somewhere in the early 1990s, as Hollywood's relationship with action cinema began to shift, and as the industry's attention span for female action heroes contracted, Allen found herself caught between what she'd established and what the new market demanded. The late 80s and early 90s had been brutal to many action actresses. The genre was consolidating, budgets were shifting, and the gatekeepers of major studio franchises were becoming more conservative about who could anchor a picture. The first serious misstep came in 1994 with A Shock 2, The System, a dark comedy thriller that reunited her with Michael Caine, but failed to find an audience. The film grossed only $6.1 million domestically, despite moderate studio backing, suggesting that Allen's star power wasn't quite enough to carry a non-franchise vehicle on its own. Around the same time, she appeared in Space Truckers, 1996, a campy sci-fi comedy directed by Stuart Gordon that was clearly aimed at cult audiences, but never achieved significant theatrical distribution. While $3.8 million domestic gross wouldn't have spelled doom for a younger actress with a development deal, it signaled to studios that Allen might not be bankable as a lead in original material. The RoboCop brand had been so dominant in her career that stepping outside of it, even with quality directors and established co-stars, proved unexpectedly difficult. More significantly, Allen faced the compounding pressure of Hollywood's shifting demographics and the rise of a new generation of younger action actresses. As the 90s progressed and the industry obsessed over younger female faces, Allen, now in her 40s, found herself increasingly competing for roles that had fewer numbers and less prestige attached to them. Several rumors circulated in trade publications about her being passed over for major franchise roles, but the concrete evidence came from her filmography: fewer theatrical releases, shorter contract terms, and a gradual migration toward television and lower-budget productions. One documented production room anecdote from this period involved Allen being considered for a significant supporting role in a major action franchise, but the studio's hesitation about her age and marketability to overseas audiences, a critical concern in the 90s, led to the role going to a younger actress. The decision was framed internally as a ratings and international appeal question rather than a talent question, but the outcome was the same: career momentum interrupted. Her agent at the time also made a series of choices that, in retrospect, may have hindered more than helped. Rather than positioning her for mature, age-appropriate roles in quality dramas or prestige projects where her dramatic skills could shine, the representation seemed to chase the same action film opportunities that had become increasingly sparse. This mismatch between her actual capabilities and the roles being pursued meant that when she was submitted for parts, she was often competing in a shrinking pool against both younger actresses and older, more established names. The television work that followed guest spots and recurring roles on series was respectable, but lacked the cachet of her theatrical peak. By the late 90s, Allen had essentially become a character actress in the industry's eyes, rather than a lead or even a co-lead, a shift that in Hollywood's rigid hierarchy translates directly to fewer offers and smaller paydays. Allen took a semi-voluntary step back from intensive industry, participation in the early 2000s, citing family priorities and a desire to focus on life outside the spotlight. She continued working in television and occasional film roles. Whether that actually happens likely depends less on her willingness than on whether Hollywood's structural biases finally shift enough to make room for her particular talents.